Good evening, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Tom Broadbent Lounge. After a couple of weeks of Saturday, Tuesday match days, it's just the one fixture for STFC this week. Mike Flynn's former side Newport County were visitors to the county ground on Saturday, and Mr. Flynn's tricky Reds got back to winning ways with a tasty 2-0 victory, putting us back into the playoff positions. We'll be getting our teeth stuck right into that particular result. We'll also be looking ahead to the trip up to Manchester this weekend, as the Reds head up to the Peninsula Stadium to take on Neville, Butt, Beckham, Scholes' Salford City. But firstly, let's get our introductions out of the way. So on my panel this evening, I've got TSTBL's stalwart, Ellis Holloway. Ellis, how's it going, buddy? Ellis is on mute. Maybe Ellis isn't here. We'll move on quickly, shall we? So I've also got TSTBL newcomer, but also stalwart these days, Mr. Charlie Woods. Charlie.
Good evening.
How you all right?
How everyone?
Happy days. We have also got the man that is the Robin to all of our Batmans in Mr. Malcolm Day. Malcolm.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me on again. I'm buzzing from this week of football, so yeah, really good.
Oh, mate, it's our absolute pleasure as always. Ellis, are you stopped playing around now?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Where did you go?
Beautiful. I missed the whole intro. I couldn't hear anything, and I was wondering why I could not hear anything.
Well,
so apologies.
No, that's fine, mate. That's the beauty of live broadcast, that is, right there.
Absolutely. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. I think 3 points on Saturday. If anyone had any sort of doubts or, I guess waning ambition this season after a couple of losses on the trot, I think 3 points on Saturday has put a lot of people at ease, and certainly has been for myself.
Absolutely. I think it was definitely a 3-pointer game. We definitely needed to get the 3 points to bounce back to winning ways. But yeah, like you said, we're full steam ahead and on to the title.
Exactly that. So let's get stuck right into Saturday's action, shall we? So obviously the Newport side, let's face it, they've flattered us deceived this season. 4 wins from 12 coming into the fixture. They obviously come into the county ground on Saturdays. Town looked to bounce back from a couple of defeats at Bradford and Reading. Town made one change for the side, the loss up in Yorkshire. Jake Young coming back into the starting 11 in place of Rashawn Hepburn Murphy. Before we get into the game, I guess I'll ping through the starting 11 quickly, just as a recap. So obviously, Mahoney in goal. We had Hutton, Blake Tracy, Brewitt, Godwin, Maleef, and Shade at the back. Midfield of George McEachran. We had Saidu Khan and Dan Kemp. Then we also had Jake Young and Charlie Austin in the side. So as I say, one change. Jake Young, Town's top goal scorer, coming back into the side. Now, I wasn't actually at the game. I was pretty blissfully drunk at that point in Liverpool. And I was trying to do my best to follow along. Now, from what I could see, Ellis, you were at the game, mate, so I'll probably lean on you a little bit for this section. But from following alongside, so obviously looking through stats and reading video printers and seeing snippets of action on Sky Sports News, it kind of looked like we were kind of in control throughout. If we start off with the first half, early goal, composed finish from Dan Kemp, maybe a defensive error. What were your thoughts on the first half, mate?
Yeah, so look, it was a good performance from Town. At no point in the game did I think we were, sort of under pressure or we were going to concede a goal. The first half was just sort of what we've seen this season so far in terms of sort of quick attacking football. Now, we weren't as good as we have been this season in terms of our passing and our decision making. It just wasn't quite 100%, but far better than what Newport were offering, and we done the job. Obviously, the Dan Kemp goal come sort of within the first 10 minutes, so it sort of set the pace of the game. we sort of caught him on the counter, and Dan Kemp took it past the keeper. To be honest, I didn't think he was going to shoot from that angle, but he obviously did and got the goal. And then it sort of just set the pace there. We were in control for the rest of the first half. Like I said earlier, Newport didn't offer anything going forward. Now, whether that's down to Town's defending or if it was, they just haven't got the quality there. But in terms of defence as well, Brewitt looks solid at the back.
I've got Brewitt on my notes actually, so obviously we'll get on to the sort of man of the match calls later on.
Yeah.
But it seemed, I'll say, seeing from afar, it seems as if Brewitt was, he's been a Town favourite this season, hasn't he? I think he's quickly becoming a bit of a cult hero at the club. But he seemed like he had a very, very, very assured game.
He just every game he keeps getting better, and especially in defence, you need to know you've got someone to almost rely on at the back and give you a bit of security if things go the wrong way. He wins. He may not be the tallest player, but he wins the majority of the balls in the air.
I think for the back three, throughout the back three, you got FBT, who I'm not too sure this season, but last season at some point it was at 100%, aerial dual success rate, and then you've got Godwin Malief as well, who is probably, we'd all agree, maybe more of a ball playing defender, but he's also handy in the air. You remember his goal? Was it Carlisle at home? Crew at home.
Crew at home.
I mean, he gets up, and obviously Tom Brewitt, as you say, he's not a massive bloke, but bloody hell, he's got some springs in those legs, doesn't he?
Yeah, and look, the thing for me as well is we're not a finished side. We're still developing, and we're still sort of clicking as a team, if you'd like. So the fact that we're picking up 3 points against decent sides throughout the season, and obviously 3 points against Newport, a convincing win, when we're not at 100%, I think when it does eventually click, maybe towards sort of December, January time, I think we're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with, and certainly be up towards the top third of the table.
I mean, we'll get on to looking forward, I guess, after we finish off the roundup of the match. But you say they're December, January time, and I think that's sort of a date in probably most any Town fans' calendar that we're trying to block out the pages and smudge out the numbers and dates, aren't we? But we'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Absolutely.
So, Malcolm, you were at the game, obviously. Touched on Dan Kemp's goal in the first half. Now, looking back, as Ellis says as well, quite rightfully so, he didn't think he'd shoot from that angle. Obviously, he's done well to get around the goalkeeper. Probably could have gone down. If he goes down, the goalkeeper's off. Now, fair play. Still on his feet, and he took the opportunity to score the goal himself, which he did fantastically. Now, he's running away from goal at an angle, cutting, with his left foot, shooting from the left-hand side of the box, which means the ball is naturally going to be spinning towards the back post, if you like. Malcolm's gone here, so Charlie, we'll come to you, mate. That's on paper, it didn't look like a great goal in terms of where he struck the ball from. But if you think about the technicality of actually making that ball go where it did at pace, running towards the byline, it's quite a finish, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it in the stadium because I was working at Motion. Okay. But looking at the highlights, it was surprising, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's a great goal, mate. Like I say, it's not quite Roberto Carlos. Now, Roberto Carlos scored a goal, I think it was against Deportivo La Coruña, where he's literally running to the byline. He's kicked it basically from the point of it being a goal kick into the top corner. So I'm not comparing Dan Kemp's goal to Roberto Carlos.
I think you should, Joe.
Dan Bento Kemp lost. Is that awful?
Yeah, but we can't go with that.
No, but like I say, it was technically a very, very good goal.
Yeah, it was a good finish. It was good sort of initiative for him to put it past the keeper. I mean, we sort of had a similar situation in the second half with Hepburn Murphy, and he sort of put it straight at the keeper. But if he'd done what Dan Kemp done and maybe put it around the keeper, you've then got the option. Obviously, Hepburn Murphy's got the pace, so you've got the option to then run around the keeper and finish, or even pick up that penalty, because if the keeper goes through him, it's a clear penalty. So the footballing brain that Dan Kemp had to pull off that finish was definitely up there.
I think the Dan Kemp goal, I think as well, it probably displays where he's at in his head. I think he's a very, very confident player at the minute, and rightfully so. You can't doubt that he deserves to be confident. He's had a fantastic start to the season. I think Hepburn Murphy is starting. You can tell a little bit by the way he's conducting himself on social media. I think he's really starting to sort of not believe his own hype, but believe in himself a bit this season. I think we've seen streaks of him this season where he's got into certain positions and maybe, not doubted his ability or just not trusted himself to go with a certain choice for a certain positive decision.
Yeah.
You get that confidence Dan Kemp's playing with at the minute into Rashad Hepburn Murphy, and we're not past 9 o'clock, but fudge me, we've got a player in our hands. I think.
Yeah, the thing with Hepburn Murphy for me is obviously he's struggling in terms of game time because he's trying to compete with Jake Young and Charlie Austin. Now look, that it's a good thing. It's a good problem as a Town fan to have. But if you're looking at it from his perspective, he's trying to prove a point. But I was speaking to my father-in-law after the game, and we were talking about that chance that he missed, where like I just mentioned, where he could have taken it past the keeper. But for me, he always seems to have 3 or 4 sort of opportunities at goal at every game that he plays, whether he comes off the bench, and he always seems to pick up a goal. Now, those other chances where he misses, like when he put it at that keeper, if he can then start putting those away as well, we're talking a high amount of goals being scored from him, and he can definitely work his way into starting. But yeah, if he can just be more clinical with those other chances, because he can score. He always scores, like we saw on the weekend. He can score those goals. He gets himself into good positions, using his pace. So if he can just get those extra goals, our front sort of 3-4 are going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, I talking there about confidence and stuff, and obviously we're moving on to the second half here, but Rashad Hepburn Murphy obviously has replaced Jake Young during the second half. Now, just while we're at the very end of chatting about the first half on Saturday, can someone discuss amongst yourself, because I love Jake Young, I don't want to put a Jake Young slander out there, but I think he's at the point where
I wrote a poem,
he needs a goal, and I can't believe I'm saying that because he scored so many, but I think he needs a goal. And
I agree. I believe he's still our top goal scorer.
I think him and Kemp might be tied now.
Yeah, so look, as a striker, obviously you're feeding off those goals, and your confidence only builds from those goals. I think we've sort of seen it from Charlie this season, where maybe he hasn't scored as many as he'd like to, and you can sometimes see it come out in the player. But again, we know he can score, and having that player like Hepburn Murphy on the bench pushing you, a bit of friendly rivalry is definitely needed. But yeah, like you said, Joe, I think a goal's only going to do him wonders, and he's another player that gets himself into good positions, and he's proved this season that he can score. He can score outside the box, from the penalty spot, headers. He can score from anywhere.
I mean, to be fair, mate, I think he might be doing what we told him to do on the show a few weeks back when he was on, was just have an absolute shitter from now until January, and then we'll just carry on where we left off in September, in February.
Yeah, it was either that or he's still scarred by my poem.
Yeah, do you know what? I forgot about your poem.
It's one of the two. Yeah, I know. Well, it hasn't stopped Dan Kemp.
That's
so
true.
I'd like to think it isn't that, but yeah.
Charlie, mate, I can see you waiting in the wings, buddy.
I don't want to backtrack.
No, you crack on, Pat. You crack on.
But on Kemp, it's going to be an unpopular opinion in some people, but I would rather keep Kemp on a permanent than Jake Young.
Mate, I don't think that's unpopular. I think that's probably fairly popular. Ideally, you keep both of them. The fact that MK Dons have just replaced their manager this week is, I don't know if it's put any angst out there, but I saw it and I kind of thought, oh, yeah.
Well, Joe, for me, the Dan Kemp situation is like his contract runs out at the end of the season. So worst case scenario, he gets recalled. We don't buy him, pick him up on a free in the summer. Now that's if, and I mean the way it's going, bigger clubs in terms of League One, possibly even Championship, are going to come in for him. But
the way that I would look at it, right, mate, I think we all know that there is budget left over from the summer. I think the manager's made that fairly clear, that there was unused budget because certain players couldn't, it didn't work out essentially in terms of coming to the football club. I think from what I understand and what I've heard as well, I think there was some money in terms of. I think there was a big player that was probably out there in social media that probably chose to go and have a pakora and a jalfrezi rather than a kebab from SM1. I could probably tell you that. Well, I'd imagine that he's probably on a bit of money. I think.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a budget, and I think you've got to, if you have the opportunity, go all out for Dan Kemp. I don't say it often with players. I always think of maybe quality over quantity, of course, but quantity as well as a squad. But I think Dan Kemp is so integral to this football club right now. If we've got a chance of going up, we've got to get him in.
Yeah. For me, Joe, if in January, I'd rather we bought Kemp and Young than bring in another 6 or 7, mediocre players. I think those two players, what they offer to this squad, we've seen this season on and off the pitch that this is a tight group of players, and I think if you take one of those away, it hurts the group. Even if you bring someone else in, I think what we're seeing from Flynn in terms of a smaller squad than what we usually see, and I think that's. In my opinion, I think that could be down to that he wants a tight group like we've seen. And you bring someone in, it poses the threat that they could be a bad egg and they could throw the squad off. But going back to Charlie's point, if I had to pick between Dan Kemp or Jake Young, it's such a tricky question, but I think it's really, really hard to replicate what Dan Kemp does on the pitch. Jake Young, it's hard to score goals, I get that, but what Dan Kemp does, when he gets the ball, he's always looking to drive forward. He's unpredictable. He's good on the ball. He can play passes. He can score goals. I think what he can offer, especially in the position that he's playing, is second to none. You could even argue that he's better than Jack Payne, which I think he is. From what I've seen, I think he's better than Jack Payne.
I totally agree. Malcolm, your thoughts on the Dan Kemp, Jake Young January fiasco? If you had to pick one, are you with me in wanting to sell your kidneys to fund a Dan Kemp budget?
I think if we looked at it, I think Dan Kemp, I think we have to keep. Don't get me wrong, I like Jake Young for what he's done. And if I had to choose, then I think Dan Kemp, because Just I don't know, just because of that. But yeah, I'd like to see them both stay, and then maybe say 3 or 4 others rather than 6 or 7 and not get them. So yeah, Kemp's a different class, and so it's like it's a no-brainer for me. And if he's out of contract, we've got to try and do something. But how hard it's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think in terms of trying to be realistic, I would say just give them a blank check and go, there you go, whack whatever you want, whatever number you want with that, and put Australian dollars at the end, and we'll pay it. But obviously,
no, if we had a blank check, can I choose someone else?
Who are you going for?
If it was a blank check, and it is, and I'm living in absolute cloud cuckoo land, but yeah, it had to be Bellingham after last night. So yeah, that if it's a blank check, it has to be him. But no, realistically, yeah, just say to him, look, let's go out, try our best, and give him our best offer. He's been here for 6 months. He knows the club. You got to hope that he's not going to want to go. Actually, let's go and start somewhere else. He's here, he's settled, so it's hopefully that'll be in our favour. So
yeah, I mean, if a high-flying League One club come in for him in January and he goes there, I guess you have to shake his hand and go, you deserve it. What if he goes to Oxford?
He won't.
Can you imagine?
He wouldn't do that to us. Don't even think about that.
If he did that, it'd be Dan Kemp. Who? Sorry, who?
Oh,
I would even take my poem back. How about that?
Well,
yeah, I'd rip up your poem in front of his face.
Come on, boys. Let's not put any libel threats out there, eh? Anyway, Malcolm, sticking with you, mate. So going back to the Newport game, second half, obviously, we had the Jake Young discussion there. We all kind of agree that Jake Young probably needs the goal, and I'm sure it'll come. Wouldn't be surprised to see him score on Saturday. Obviously, replaced by Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy, maybe showing boss Mike Flynn that he was wrong to drop him. Great composure to finish off a sweeping move, which saw Sadu Khan sting the palms of the Newport goalkeeper, and then RHM coolly swept the ball home to make it 2-0 late on. Now, is Hepburn-Murphy really causing a bit of a problem for the boss? Because whenever he plays at the minute, he's doing well, isn't he? He's looking threatening. He's looking like he's going to score a goal whenever he gets forward.
Yeah, he's definitely willing. I think sometimes with him, and like this is gonna, for me as a non-footballer, it's gonna sound bad, but I think sometimes he's a little bit too far ahead of himself. I think he's he knows what he wants to do, but he doesn't. He tries to do it before he gets he's almost 2 yards ahead of himself sometimes, which isn't a criticism in any way because I like him, and it just sometimes just have to bring him back a little bit and go, just calm down a little bit. Maybe he's a bit overexcited. Maybe I don't know.
He's
but
too quick.
I was going to say when you're that,
that could be it. It's not a criticism in any way. It's just kind of what I've noticed that sometimes I can see what he wants to do and he doesn't get there quite, and it's just it's like come on.
When you're that fast,
it's definitely frustrating, but I think I've said it all season. I think if he can manage to break into that starting lineup and start games consistently, it comes. And the more game time he gets, the more consistent he gets. Because you got to think, before he comes to Swindon, how long did he have out from playing football? And
I think another way of looking at it is, would you want him on a team against you? And if the answer is definitely not, then that's a good answer. That's a good thing, because I wouldn't want to see him against Swindon, because I think he'd rip us apart. So it's good to have him on our side to let him grow into that, and I think he will get there.
Yeah, definitely, and especially him coming off the bench as well. If you're looking at it from the defender's perspective, you've defended let's say 70 minutes from Jake Young and Charlie Austin, and then you look to the bench and Hepburn Murphy's coming on, and you've now got to deal with that. It's just like mind-boggling from a defender's perspective. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be blown before he even come on the pitch.
Especially if you're an older defender too. So you think about Salford on Saturday. They've got, 36-year-old Adrian Mariappa that obviously was essentially a Swindon Town player, albeit without pen on paper last year. But at that age, if your legs are aching a little bit, like I say, in the 70th minute, you've just been kicked in the back of the leg by Charlie Austin, and you've been chasing the long strides of Jake Young, and you see a substitution and Jake Young's going off, you think, oh, thank God, bit of a rest here, bit of respite, and you've got the pace of Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy running at you. I mean, it just must put you down a little bit. Like, confidence goes from 100 to 80.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. And look, he can score goals, and the fact that he's scoring goals coming off the bench as well. If he gets a full 90 minutes, I mean, look, injuries are bound to happen at some point in this
and he's
season.
One that you want to protect, isn't he? Because he does have previous.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always good to have options, but if you've got options coming off the bench with quality, even better.
Absolutely. So obviously, just rounding off the Newport game, 2-0 win. I mean, Newport to me as well. Newport at home. It kind of doesn't strike me with fear, but it's one of those games each season. I think potential banana skin. You think back to the Ben Garner season. They sort of put an end, or at least a dampener, on our automatic hopes. But as I say, 2-0 win this year, up to 6th in the league, back into the playoffs. Game in hand, win the game in hand during the autos. I mean, it's not looking bad, is it? Obviously, we've had a tough result at Bradford. Arguably should have got a point there, had a few good chances. If you're going to bounce back, there's not much better ways to bounce back, really.
Yeah, we're in a very good position in the league. I just want to take everyone's minds back to the summer period where everyone was predicting that Swindon Town would be relegated, or would be 20th, 19th, around bottom of the table, and now I bring you back, and we're it's very early on, so I'm not getting carried away. But if this was the end of the season, we're fighting for promotion.
I'll tell you who is bottom of the league as well. I believe it's some really hairless looking shelled thing.
Yeah, look, I think predictions were all over the place this season. I mean, everyone predicted Crawley to go down, and they've had a decent start. I mean, you look at the game where we played them, where we absolutely ripped them a new one. We made them look like a bunch of amateurs, and the fact that they're beating some top teams in this league, I think, shows the quality that we have in this side as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, on Crawley as well, mate. It didn't end well with us, but I'm actually very, very happy and pleased for Scott Lindsay. I think the bloke deserves credit for what he did here last year. It soured towards the end, but it's nice to see him do well, and it's nice to see, in your words, the bald-headed bastard. Was that what you called him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, doing not so well.
The thing with Scott Lindsay is, I think, yes, it was quite boring football at times, but if you look at where we were when he left compared to where we were at the end of the season, we were in a better position with Scott Lindsay. Would I have Scott Lindsay back? No, not at all. But he's a nice guy. We had him on here, Joe. We spoke to him beforehand. He's a nice bloke, isn't he?
Yeah.
But as long as Swindon finish above Crawley, then I wish him all the best.
Absolutely.
Just quick,
Charlie, your hand is up.
Yeah, going on that, on all the prediction things, I have to say the fan one was actually quite funny. With everyone putting us bottom.
Mate, to be fair, sometimes the underdog status, you go under the radar. I'm not saying it's helped, but it's certainly nice feeling smug, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is indeed. Just a quick interchange. People, I'm interested to see what the general consensus is among our listeners in terms of the Jake Young or Dan Kemp argument. Comment in the section below, Kemp or Young. I just want to see what the consensus is, really. I think if you've got to pick one and it's only one, you're not allowed to have both. Who are you going for? Jake Young, Dan Kemp. We've had 4 Kemps up here, so Kemp's 4-0 up already. Just a bit of interest on my end, really, being nosy. A quick run over STWFC. So Town hosted table toppers AFC Bournemouth at Foundation Park on Sunday afternoon. Conceded early on, but managed to get back into the game with a sensational equaliser from Ellie Stripple. Swindon conceded 2 penalties in the very, very dire moments of the first half, both of which were converted by Bournemouth. It's frustrating. I think it would frustrate Gaffer Richwood. Hopefully it's something this young squad will be able to learn from. Captain George Wood gave the Reds a bit of hope in the second half early on. Third goal in 3 games. Obviously, the captain's doing well for herself. First season at SN1 after a couple of tough years at Watford, so it's lovely to see her doing really well. Bournemouth also scored later on as well, so 3-2 loss at home. Again, Town are third in the league, Bournemouth top. Swindon sit third, 8 points off top now. It's still early on. It's not over. It's a good start to the season for the girls. Just a frustrating one at home, really. Couple of, tough penalties at really poor times. But they look to bounce back this weekend. They're away. Obviously, if you can, get to the game on Sunday afternoon. If not, follow online. The social media coverage of the women's team this season has been absolutely fantastic. So make sure you get involved with that lot. Section 3 now. So Ellis, we've got Salford City this time. Obviously, travelling up to Manchester this weekend, up against League 2 Moneybag Salford. Ordinarily, you'd imagine the Ammies to be right up there at the summit, wouldn't you? But it's been a relatively difficult start to the season for the campaign. They're sitting 15th in the division. I'm almost certain that they won't be looking forward to welcoming Mike Flynn's beautiful, sharp-shooting red bastards, will they?
No, that's one way to put it. I think I think it's going to be sort of very similar to what we saw on Saturday. You'd like to think that it would be a fairly easy game for Town. I can't see them offering much going forward.
The annoying thing is, on paper, they've got some good players. That's the thing. Like Salford, they've got the backing of the financial backing of the likes of Gary Neville, David Beckham. I think Roy Keane's got a stake in it. Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes. They've got a few quid amongst them, haven't they? And they're one of those teams that you think they should be absolutely annihilating this division. They just can't get it right. And I think last season, I've spoken to a couple of Man United fans that go to Salford games every other weekend, and they kind of feel as if that last season was Salford's chance. Obviously, out in the playoffs and penalties to Stockport. Are they not one to worry about this year, do you think? Are they going to come back and bounce back and be a problem? I don't really know where I stand with them. Yeah,
like you said, Joe, they've got good players, so they always offer the threat that they can bounce back. Whether it's down to the management, whether they need a management change, it's a tricky one. They've got money, but they've had money for the past three.
I think they've been
3-4 seasons.
Was it Wellens' first year they came up?
Yeah. Well, look, they sacked Richie Wellens, for God's sake. The decisions they make at the football club, I can't get my head around it.
Ellis, they go through managers like anything, don't they? And you've got memes, you've got lines like, "This is the one that had to work. This is the one that wasn't going to fail. It's the one that never failed." They can just do that though. They're allowed to. They've got the financial ability to just fly through managers and wait for the one that works. But
practically it just doesn't work though. Look, you as a manager in football, everyone knows you don't have the time that you need, but let's be honest, you need more time than like Richie Wellen had. I mean, even at Swindon, he had a slow start.
Yeah.
And look, you can the proof's in the pudding what he's done at Leyton Orient as well. So yeah, going back to your point, Joe, I think they always pose a threat, especially come January. It'd be interesting to sort of see how active they are in the market. But, you know, come this Saturday, I can't see them posing a threat to us. I think it's just down to how we perform as a side, whether we're on the ball or not.
Isn't that a nice feeling? I mean, Malcolm, it's a nice feeling, isn't it, that, as Ellis says there, we focus on ourselves. If we play well, we win football games. I don't think last year you'd look at some games and you'd think it's going to be a tough ask. We've got to be a bit lucky. We've got to have a few decisions go the right way for us. This season, as Ellis has rightly said, if we play well, we win games of football.
Yeah, and I think that you still got to respect the opposition, and I think that's what we do. We do our homework. We respect them. We look at where we can hurt them, and we're not going in blasé. But I think we can. We know that we're a good team, and we've got that spirit that if we play well, we can give anyone a game. You know what I mean? Apart from half an hour at Notts County, I think we give them a game. And yeah, I don't want to be I won't cocky and say we'll go everywhere and win. So I think there's some good teams, especially away from home. But yeah, we've got to go in, believe in our game, and impose ourselves on them. And I think they're going to find it tough. So yeah, I think we're right to have that little bit of optimism, but just let's not be too cocky about it. I think.
No, absolutely. I think that's fair enough, mate. So obviously, looking at the game on Saturday, would you be making changes to the starting 11? Do you think Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy's made a case for him to come back into the starting 11?
You could argue it. I think it's a tricky one because obviously Austin's not scoring. Look, we talk about this.
I was about to say we talk about this every single week. I think Charlie Austin offers so much to this team outside of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at what he does off the ball, the experience that he brings, the composure that he brings to the side. I mean, the amount of times he's been taken off and we've conceded a goal, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think you just need to you need to start Charlie, and then it's just a question of Hepburn Murphy or Jake Young. I personally I would keep the side the same. I think Shade towards the last sort of 20 minutes of the Newport game, he definitely got into the flow and was one of our better players on the pitch at times. He's almost become a scapegoat this season of, being. We always have to have one as a Town fan, but the last 20 minutes on Saturday, he was very instrumental, especially towards that second goal. So yeah, as a whole, I think we go unchanged. But yeah,
it's the manager's got options. I quite like the fact you brought out Ty Shade there. I think Ty Shade is in absolutely great form in a minute. His attacking ambition to me is something that's really clear to see that it's helping the squad. I think he's an outlet on the left-hand side. The way he cuts in from the left to the right and he strikes that ball with pace towards the bottom left-hand corner. I know his target's not quite accurate at the minute. It's getting closer. But I think there's something there. I think he can get himself goals by literally doing that. It's kind of... I think the right backs as well, or the right side of centre backs, they sort of know what's coming, but they've just, they can't defend it. They can't prevent it. He gets his way and he gets our shot off and he finds a target. I think he starts racking up goals. Charlie, are you with Malcolm with Ellis there in terms of no changes, or do you think RHM deserves a bit of a shout to come back into the 11?
If we're going to make a change, I reckon it has to be Jake Young because, as we say every week, Charlie Austin offers that little bit that just isn't scoring goals, but he still offers something.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough as well because obviously we spoke about Jake Young potentially needing a goal, maybe lacking a little bit of confidence, which is mental because the guy's absolutely shat goals this season. It is a tough one, and personally, I'm fairly happy that my name isn't Mike Flynn and I'm having to choose who's starting out of the two because I think it probably does come down to the two. I think Jake Young and Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy are the ones that will probably either or will play. It's a tough decision.
Yeah, you could look at it from the point of view that, you know, he was taken off on Saturday. He's had that week spell
He had
now
an illness, didn't he, as well? I think,
exactly.
He missed what game was it? He missed the Notts County game because he was ill. Maybe, I mean, to be fair, like, I think a lot of people have had COVID at the minute as well, and obviously COVID it's a respiratory illness. It could be a flu. It affects
Dr. Joe.
mate. My girlfriend's had like COVID over the last couple of weeks, and she's breathing like Darth Vader. So I wouldn't want to see her running around a pitch. And I think if someone like a professional footballer had something like that, obviously it's going to affect your performance levels. So you can't really blame him if he's trying to get back to full fitness.
No. Look, I think you take him off and put Hepburn-Murphy on. I think that it puts something in Jake Young's head that, you know, when he comes on, he's got to perform. I think that can only be a good thing. And even him being taken off on Saturday, I think again, it shows Jake Young that he's not a permanent in this side, and he just because he scored those goals, he can be taken off, and I think we're going to see that quite a lot in this side. I think if Mike Flynn's not happy with a player, we saw it with Uwakwe. If he's not happy with their performances, he'll try something else. And look, it's not in that Jake Young's not good enough. We all know that he is. But either way, I think I'd be happy with Hepburn-Murphy or Jake Young.
Yeah, starting. I mean, this is the entire reason that you've got a squad. I mean, there's essentially an 18-man squad, I'd say, of professionals at Swindon Town at the minute, and they all earn a decent wage. So we're paying them to play football, we're paying them to play for Swindon Town. And, you know, the likes of Shade, he got the opportunity when Uwakwe has dropped out of the side and he's taken it. So ultimately, it's good for competition, it's good for performance levels when you do have the opportunity to change your squad and give someone else a go. As I say, you mentioned Ellis before as well. In pre-season, we had a few pre-season chats after the Supermarine game. A lot of people were fairly disparaging about the chances on paper, I suppose, this season.
Yeah.
Now, we're sort of tagged as the happy clappy lounge, and I wear that as a pride of honour, really. Now, we've always been sort of, you know, banging the drum a little bit for Town this year in pre-season, looking at the squad and thinking, you know, we're capable of doing bits this season. Are we starting to believe our own positivity and ambition? Because I think I am. I think we keep Dan Kemp in January. I think we add to the squad, and I think we're capable of doing it, mate. I genuinely, I think autos are on. Absolutely. I think Mansfield will go up. I think Mansfield will look very good. I'd be surprised if Notts County aren't up there too. But I'd happily finish third. Like any of those top three positions, give it to me now.
Any way of going up, Joe.
I'm not doing playoffs.
Everyone, look, if we get out of this league, everyone laughed at me at the start of the season when I said we were getting promoted. But
I think I laughed at you as well,
Joe. Yeah, Joe. I saw something in this squad. I saw something. I don't know if it was the glisten in Dan Kemp's eyes. I don't know what it was, but even if we go up through a 90-minute 1-0 win in the playoff final, I don't care. We've definitely got the quality. If this side, if our starting 11 can stay fit and can stay free of injury, we'll go up.
As I say, we've chatted about it throughout tonight, and I don't like to bring January up, but it's such a big month for Swindon Town Football Club. I think, you know, I wanted to mention as well, obviously, Harrison Minturn signing a new contract today at the football club, so it's lovely to see our own homegrown players such as Mingoat getting those, you know, rewards for his performances, and being around the first team squad has integrated really well. It's always lovely to see, there's a fan on the pitch wearing the shirt representing, the people in the ground. And it's nice to see that as a Town fan or as any football fan, seeing your own on the field. Now, I saw Falls Rush In panellist Ben Nichols, friend of the show, Ben Nichols, tweeting, "Is this a Dan Kemp agreement?" Now, I didn't think it was. I'm not going to sit here and say I did, but when I saw that teasing tweet, I got a little bit excited, and I don't know why. Because why would be announcing Dan Kemp in November or October, or whatever it is? It wouldn't happen. It's just that January transfer window is weighing on me, and I mean, Malcolm, is it in your mind January? Because it feels huge. It feels so big. This squad is so good, and if we keep it together and add to it, we've got a right good chance.
Yeah, I mean, over the years we've tended to lose a lot of players in January. Not over the recent few years, obviously with the loanees, but even back, further back, we'd lost, some good strikers. Charlie went in the window, didn't he, in January. Fjortoft going back, just players like that. We always seem to go, and we always seem to, do we need the money? Are we in a position where we'll take anything, or are we going to go? We're not going to take that. It's not good enough. So hopefully we're in a position where we can kind of turn someone down, unless they come in with some absolutely stupid money. But yeah, with the two teams, Milton Keynes changing manager, and obviously Bradford, maybe that changes things. But yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's just get as many wins on the board as possible. Get that team spirit, staying as positive it is, and maybe the players don't want to go. Maybe they might offered, less they get offered Championship, maybe, but make it hard for them to want to leave, because they're liking being where they are, and they're playing decent football, and they're in a decent position in League Two. So try and do it that way, I think.
Mate, I agree, and to be fair as well, I think Clem Morfuni has said over the last couple of years that his ambition is to get Swindon Town into Championship and be a stable Championship club. Now, the first year, it was a case of, mission statement, if you like, was we need to stay in this division. We got to the playoffs. It was a fantastic year, but I think every Swindon Town fan would have accepted safety in that season. The next year, we're all expecting, guns blazing, we're going to absolutely piss this league. We need to get out of this division. Promotions on the cards. And last year ended with a whimper. This year, I do think that, we fully back the Clem Morfuni, regime on this podcast. We spoke about it a lot. It's not a case of when Lee Power was here, we probably would have been a little bit more disparaging. I've met Clem, I like the bloke, but I think for some Town fans, maybe it's a case of, there's money in the bank, but it's running out. And I think this is a season where we really do need to get promotion, I think.
Yeah, he's never said he's a sugar daddy. He's never said he's like a Man City. Is that the right word? I mean, he's never said he's like a Man City
like a steak,
whatever their chap's called. Yeah. So I mean, he's always been open, and we have to make money to put into the team, and that's what he's doing. Sustainable, and that's what he's doing, and I think he's doing a decent job. May not be as quick as what some people want, and I don't think it'll ever be as you never please anyone. I mean, some of the stuff you see, well, after we win, you just think if we watch the same game, but I think you just, as fans, you got to back him for what he says, and we're going in the right direction, and that's we've not been able to say that for quite a few times over the years. So call me happy clappy, I don't care, because I've seen it all for the worst, and this is 100 times better than it has ever been. So I'm staying happy clappy. Thanks very much.
Right, yes. Joe, regarding Dan Kemp and Jake Young. Now, look, I'm the most positive person there is. I don't think I predicted below a 4-0 win this season, but look, I just can't see a situation where both Jake Young and Dan Kemp don't get recalled. Now, look, if the shoe was on the other foot, and they're Swindon players. They're out on loan. We would want them to be recalled. Now, I think we will buy both of them. I believe that we will buy both of them. But from a Bradford and an MK Dons perspective, they're not just going to let a player like that go to a rival club. They're going to want some money from him, especially Dan Kemp, because his contract runs up at the end of the season. So in my head, how I see it playing out is they'll recall him. So if MK Dons recall Dan Kemp, we buy him. I don't think it will be for a decent amount of money, but not as much as he's worth, because his contract runs out at the end of the season. So they're going to want something for them than just being at a rival club. The same situation happened with Doyle a couple of seasons ago. I think we've just got to prepare ourselves. But look, I think we will buy them, and Clem, I think, understands how important they are to the side. And yeah, I'm confident that there'll be Swindon players.
Mate, I think it's interesting you've linked the Owen Doyle thing there, because I was literally thinking the same. But I don't think. I think the Doyle situation is probably more similar to Jake Young, and that's not because it's a Bradford striker. Yeah. The only saving grace with the Doyle issue was that Gary Bowyer was still at the club at that time, and obviously there was a public falling out between the two. He went back to Bradford. I remember clearly that he played 3 or 4 games from, didn't he, in January, and he was absolutely shit. He missed an absolute sitter away at Crawley, and Bradford fans being like, "What the hell has happened to this bloke? Like, he's a completely different person. He's just a ginger bloke that's turned up, and he's not Owen Doyle." I think the fact that Mark Hughes has left Bradford now worries me. Jake Young I think he's from that area. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know for sure. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a boyhood Bradford fan. He's from Yorkshire. He's from Huddersfield. Yeah. It worries me. I think he could potentially slip back into that Bradford side and do well, or do well enough.
The
Dan Kemp.
The only thing, Joe, both Bradford are not short on strikers. They've got options there, and MK Dons have just signed Jack Payne, who I'd imagine is on less money than what Dan Kemp is. I don't think they would have signed him with the thoughts of keeping Dan Kemp.
The thing is, as well, mate, Graham Alexandra's another one. Obviously there was a public falling out with Graham Alexandra in pre-season. Dan Kemp was almost refusing to play for MK Dons. A new manager goes in there. I think, is it Mike Williamson from Gateshead's gone in?
But we could have the same situation there, Joe. Yeah. He gets recalled. He might say, "No, I want to stay at Swindon. If you recall me, I'm not playing. My contract runs up at the end of the season. I'm not playing another game for MK Dons." That might happen.
You run the risk of walking that tightrope of maybe breaking contracts. And I'm not a football agent, but I don't think I'd be advising my clients to be refusing to play games of football for your club. I think.
Well, okay, he plays, but he plays shit.
Fair enough. You can go back down, but play wank.
Yeah, look, we saw it with it's sort of a different situation, but we saw it with Tyree Simpson in the Bengana season. Yeah, he was on loan from Ipswich. He got into a great run of form. He was banging goals in. His contract ended at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. They wanted some money for him. They recalled him. We're looking for a move elsewhere, and that's it. They wanted him to sign another contract, and he refused. Yeah. So they put him in the I think they put him in the under-21 side. Yeah. So look,
it's always us, isn't it? Why are we always on the receiving end of this?
I know.
The only player that I can think of
what we get for
signing that we've had out on loan and we've wanted to recall him back was Scott Twine. Now that was annoying because Scott Twine was out of contract. So it kind of is a little bit like a Dan Kemp situation, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. We just we should learn our lesson and not sign loan players and just sign them permanently.
It's one of those, isn't it? Sometimes it's me smart.
Yeah, look, how are we to know before this season started that Jake Young and Dan Kemp were going to be as crucial as they were. Now, I think Flynn obviously knew that they were good players, but who could have predicted that they would have got off to a start like this? And I think if I'm Flynn and if I'm Clem in January, I'm looking at buying them. Like even if they're not being recalled, I'm trying to buy them, because come the end of the season, if they're getting offers from League One and Championship clubs, you can't blame them for going elsewhere. So I think even right this second, if I was Clem, I'd be trying to get some sort of deal done now or as soon as possible for when January comes at their Swindon Town players.
I mean, I can confidently say to our lovely listeners that you can all look forward to the Tom Broadbent Lounge version of Stay Another Day by E17 coming out and hitting Christmas #1 this year. It's going to happen. Let's just very quickly just go back to the Salford game. Obviously, a game that will have the likes of Jake Young and Dan Kemp in the squad wearing red, or no, in fact, wearing blue this weekend.
Yeah.
Now, predictions-wise, you sounded confident. I think, did you say 4-0, Ellis? Which is like...
No, I didn't say 4-0. That's been my prediction for every other game this season. But I mean, look, it could be 4-0. My prediction, I'll give you my prediction now. I think it's going to be a fairly similar game to the Newport game. I think Salford probably offer more than Newport do. I think if we turn up on the day, we're not going to have any issues. Now, the sensible Ellis in me says a 2-0 win again. If I'm getting carried away, I'm seeing a 5-1 win. So those are the two options. So take your pick.
Okay, we'll go in the middle. We'll go 4-2.
4-2.
All right.
Okay.
Malcolm, what about you, buddy?
I'm going, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to a solid 2-0 win.
That's a sensible one. I'll take 2-0 every day of the week. Charlie, What are you thinking, pal? Are you confident?
I'm going to go very similar to Saturday, and I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. Okay. I mean, there's 3 wins there. I wouldn't say any different. I think we're a better footballing side than Salford. I think, on paper they've got some good players. The likes of Mariappa, Matt Smith up front's an issue, but they do look to me as if they're an aging squad. Sorry, an aging squad. And I think the likes of Rashawn Hepburn, Murphy, Dan Kemp, even that's Tyree. Ellis, stop laughing. Tyree Shea. Those pacey attacking players that we've got on our team can really, really affect and attack those aging legs. I'm going to keep saying it now. I'm confident. I'm going to stop at the laughter and go 3-0. So, Malcolm, please take over from me.
I've done my prediction, but I just wanted to to give a heads up to anyone out there that's listening that's got kids, because there's a new thing that's opening, hopefully, from the Tuesday night, the game against the Gillingham. It's the Junior Reds room, which is in the Don Rogers. I've seen pictures of it, which is half done, and they've ripped the carpet up. They've changed a few things around where the bar was. It's like put some shirts up and stuff. I don't want to give out too many things, but there's games for the kids to play. I think there's some consoles there. There's some other things for them to do, possibly a table tennis and a couple other things. But it's going to be really good, and it's not open to not just people in Don Rogers. It's open to any children, junior Reds that want to go. And you can enter it from the back of the stand as well as in the Don Rogers as well, because I think it was just for the Don Rogers previously. So check out social media and just make sure that is opening on Tuesday as planned. But if it does, it'll be it's a really good thing. So just wanted to heads up, and I think that's a good thing from the club that are doing that for the younger fans.
Absolutely. Malcolm, thank you very, very much for that. That was very professional. You've saved me from embarrassing myself further.
Asian legs.
So yeah, definitely check that out. Take your kids along to the new children's zone, the Don Rogers. Be a great way to sort of ease them into the match day, have a bit of fun, and then go and watch Swindon Town have fun on the football pitch as well. Right, I mean, look at the time. We've got our predictions in. We've got our appetites whetted for Salford away. Now, the only thing left to do is the little outro, of course. So, as always, thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. A reminder that we are the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. We're an independent X space, and the views that have been expressed this evening are most certainly not representative of those of Swindon Town Football Club, nor Sir Tom himself. Thank you once again for listening. Come on, you Reds!
Bye, everyone.